Greetings, Lunarians. Welcome back to the Empire. I am your host, Valkos, here with my very first question and answer video. I've been wanting to do one of these for quite some time, and thank you ever so much for submitting all your questions. It's been quite a pleasure reading all those and getting this prepared and stuff like that. So, hoping to do some more as time goes on, but we'll see how that goes. If you have any additional questions for me for the next Q&A, you can go ahead and leave that in the comment section below this video. If you want to expand on the questions that have been answered in this one as well, you can do that too. But regardless, let's get into it. Here we go. The majority of these questions are Brigandine related, but I'm going to start with the only personal question that I have been asked throughout this entire thing, which is from Pedro Stormrage. Thank you very much for your question. They ask, I know music is involved, but I do not know the details. What is your educational background in music specifically? So my educational background in music goes a long way back. It goes all the way back to the wee age of 4. So I started piano lessons when I was 4 years old and took those lessons all the way up into my late teens, 15, 16, something like that, if I remember correctly. And throughout that time, I picked up the guitar when I was about 12, when I started getting into new music. I love heavy metal and rock. So you guys have probably gathered that already by the birthday celebration video that I did on the Escalio theme song, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, around 12 is when I started picking up the guitar, and have stuck with both of those instruments all the way through to the present right now. But sporadically throughout all of that time, I dabbled in vocals as well. All the way from children's choirs, I participated in elementary school choirs, high school choirs, and even collegiate level choirs as well. So there was this really cool group dedicated to professional singers called U Singers, or University Singers, inside the university that I attended, which was Eastern Kentucky University. Happy graduate nowadays, which I'm very proud of. So I graduated back in 2014 from that university, and I currently hold a bachelor's degree in music composition and theory. So for those of you who don't know what music composition is, it is songwriting. So I'll do a lot of that. And my current career is a private music instructor. I do do original stuff, and I've played some original stuff on my channel before, but to have a more stable job, teaching is definitely where it's at as far as the music realm goes. But I'm slowly trying to get up into the composition aspect of things to try to make that a full-fledged business. But you know, times are tough as well. But regardless, I am happy where I am at musically. I love my students, my clients. They're all wonderful people, wonderful learners, very quick learners. I'm very surprised on how quickly they are learning, but we'll get into all that later. Coming up very soon will be my 20th year of teaching. That's going to be next year in 2022. I started teaching piano, guitar, and voice back in 2002, February of 2002. So when February of 2022 hits, that will be my 20th year of teaching music, which is pretty insane to me. I'm gonna have to do something very special for that. I have no clue what I'm gonna do, but we'll see when the time comes. But yeah, feels pretty good, and I'm very proud to be where I'm at today. When you attend music school, you have to have a focus in a certain instrument or multiple instruments if you are taking a major that is not performance related. Mine was not. Mine was composition and theory or songwriting. So, but you have to have some type of instrument to focus on. My focus was mostly classical and electric guitar, and with dabblings of piano and also voice in the same vein. So mostly guitar though, but yes, that's what my focus was, and my degree is currently a music composition and theory degree with a focus in guitar, piano, and voice. That's about all there is to tell with educational background right there. There's some more stuff to unpack specifically if you want to get more in detail with that, but if you want to ask me any more music related questions, you can leave that in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to put more music related questions inside the next Q&A video when that releases. So, but yes, Pedro, thank you very much for your question. I had a lot of fun answering it, and let's move on. All right, let's go ahead and unpack the Brigandine questions, shall we? Here we go. The next question is from Tavi Sub. The question is about Legend of Forsena. If you can choose one game of Legend of Forsena, what do you prefer? A prequel, a remake, or a sequel? So he's specifically sticking to the Legend of Forsena series way back in 1999 and 2000 with the Grain Edition. As we all know, it's the same exact story between the Legend of Forsena and the Grain Edition. But the secondary game is what he's mostly asking about right here. Do you prefer a prequel to that, a remake to it, or a sequel to it? As we know, Legend of Nursia is not a prequel or sequel or anything related to Legend of Forsena whatsoever. So when it comes to Legend of Forsena, this is a very interesting one, and I had a think about this for quite some time. I think what I would prefer is a prequel, because we have a lot of context with so many different things that happened in the past on the dialogue of Legend of Fortuna in all countries. You're talking about, you know, Lance's father passing away. You're talking about Baynard's father passing away and stuff like that. There's a lot of history to unpack before the previous leaders ever came into power. So that would be really, really cool to see, and how they originated from mana power and stuff like that. So we kind of have an origin story in Legend of Nursia on where rune power came from. They kind of dive into it a little bit, but they don't dive into that whatsoever inside Legend of Fortuna. So I think I would actually prefer a prequel. So really, really cool question. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this question and what you would prefer a continuation of with Legend of Fortuna. Do you prefer prequel, remake, or sequel? Next question comes from Sexy Chocolate. What is your favorite / most utilized cross-class build and favorite monster unit? So I'm assuming we're sticking with Legend of Nursia. So this one is it's a toss-up between a couple things, I think. So what I like to cross-class a lot of is a swordsman and a ranger class, because I love the moving away with a swordsman, especially the sheer amount of agility that you get. So you have a lot of evasion taking right there. Plus you get a few magic spells if you go all the way into treasure hunter and stuff, and you get a lot of crit chance and just a ton of manipulation of the enemy units. So it's pretty cool to be able to do hitting away with a swordsman that it's very agile and can crit very frequently. And for the same vein kind of goes for the female classes too. I like to cross class a dancer class with the lancer class, dancer. So it's very much the same idea, but we do get a few different magic spells like Fallberg. You can doing Fallberg with an assassin is pretty hilarious actually, because you can do that and then run away. It's pretty awesome. So regardless, I like the very agile classes when it comes to leaders. As far as favorite monster unit goes, this is a tough one because there's been some changes recently with like the Titan class and the Goblin class and stuff. But I think what I like the most, especially in Nursia, is the fact that they gave the dog classes, the high dog classes, a third tier class. Yes, it's still a Fenrir, which is what we're used to in the previous game, but there is at least 3 tiers there, and they have a little bit more utility and abilities when it comes to their tier 3. They have 2 different breath attacks, which is Inferno Breath, which is fire, and then there's Dark Breath, or whatever they call it, which is, of course, dark element. So having 2 different elemental breath attacks with a dog or a Fenrir that can also do hitting away is very, very cool. I especially like to have high agile gear where they get additional mobility, or put the sky trait on them if there is a gear piece that exists like that. I believe there is. Yes, but regardless, you can even cast flight on the Fenrirs. I like to do that with high agile units, especially if they can move, if they can hit in a way. So I think my favorite class in Legend of Nursia is going to be the Fenrir. Yes. Next question comes from StRaphael. Thank you for your question. Is it possible to make an alliance in Nursia like New Almykia and Caerleon in Fortuna? Unfortunately, there is no option to do alliances of any sort inside Legend of Nursia. So, and I can kind of see why, because of the way the map is laid out. You very much can stand alone on each different playthrough. From all the playthroughs that I've played through so far, even the smaller ones, or the smaller countries, I can see why we don't make alliances, because of how the map is laid out, basically. So I don't know of any real huge benefits to making an alliance, how that would correlate, because it would pretty well break the game, I think, even if you were to make an alliance between opposite ends of the country, like Norzaleo and Morelva, for example. Like, I think it's a little much to make alliances in this game in particular, but they could have done it in a way where you could make alliances. So I'm kind of both understanding and also sad that we don't have alliances. So it is what it is. I love the game for what it is, but yeah, it would definitely have been cool if we had the option to make alliances. So yeah, good question. Next question is from Pager Magnus. They ask, they're wondering if you can replace the leaders of each country, both Forsena and Nursia, which one would you pick? So I had to get some context on this one as well. And what they're specifically asking is, if the main leaders of each country in both Forsena and Nursia were to die or lose power or whatever the case may be, who would be the best replacement for that leader in particular? So what I'm going to have to do is make a list of people that I think would be good candidates for this. So it sounds very political, doesn't it? So let me do that really quick because I need to first make the list so I can remember who I pick and also go over the reasons why I pick them in particular. So this is a very loaded question, so I'll be right back. Alright, let's continue. This is a loaded question, so we're going to have to take this one step at a time. So let's start with Legend of Nursia. Why not? I got my little list right here. So for Legend of Nursia, let's start with Holy Gustava Empire. So someone to replace Tim. I think Ivan would be a pretty good choice. He seems very loyal to the ideals of Gustava and very loyal to his lord. So I think Ivan would be a good fit for leader. For the Shinobi tribe, this is kind of a strange one because you would think it'd be a woman, but I think I'm gonna go with Sid, just because. Spoiler alert, if you haven't played Shinobi Tribe, please skip ahead. This is a big spoiler. But I think Sid would be a good candidate because we found out that he was born inside the Shinobi Tribe because of the red eyes, right? And plus, they gave up their original ideals at the very end of the playthrough. So I think Sid would be a good fit. So for Mana Silesia, it's definitely got to be Kyle. Kyle would be a perfect fit to rule Mana Silesia just because he is very much like Rudo and the tyrant that he is, if you will. Very much the same chaotic nature as him, and plus he's one of the most intelligent rune knights on the entire continent. So I think he's a perfect fit, to be honest. So for Morelva, to replace Stella, I think Guinea would just resume command, to be honest. I could see an argument made for maybe Pluto, but I think he's more of like an advisor. And Adieu, I thought about him too, but he's more of like a free spirit, to be honest. I don't think he has leadership qualities. He's more of a you know, a carry-on, I guess, if you would call it that. So he's very independent. He's not like a follower, but you know, he's there. So I think Guinea would be a good fit just to retake control if Stella was to be you know, dethroned, if you will. For Eliza, I think Kane would be the perfect fit just because of what he's been showcasing the entire playthrough of my previous playthrough that I just did. He seems very, very loyal to Guy Mool, so I think he would be a great fit even though he doesn't agree with Eliza's terms and everything, or doesn't have confidence in her rule. So, but regardless of that, I think Kane would be a good fit. For a replacement for Rubino, I haven't played Norzalio yet, so I have no idea about the character, but someone did suggest, the person who asked this question suggested that Chisler may be a good fit, and from just the generic, from my initial impressions of the characters inside Norzalio, I think Chisler would definitely be a good fit too. One of the more intelligent advisors and stuff. Grados is definitely the defender of the country. You know, some people may say Grados would be a good leader, but I think he's definitely more of a defender and you know, a loyal follower. So the main loyal follower, if you will. So that takes care of Nursia. Let's move on to Forsena. For Legend of Forsena, let's go ahead and start with Lance. So to replace Lance, he took control from Cole. Cole deemed him worthy enough to rule the country of Padstall, and if Lance were to be dethroned, Coel could definitely take control back, I would say, but I think a better candidate would definitely be Hallie. Because at the very end of that playthrough, she came back in one of the scenes, one of the ending scenes. So if he were to be dethroned, I think Hallie would be a perfect fit, to be honest, to rule over Almikia. For Kai, I think Kai is irreplaceable. Going over all of the knights inside of Caerleon, I don't think any knight can fit his credentials whatsoever to rule the country. No one seems to have leadership qualities except for Dinadan, but Dinadan to me is more like a Grados character, where he is a very loyal subject, the main loyal subject to the country, and a protector. So I don't think Kai is replaceable. On to Drist, also irreplaceable. I don't see anybody inside Escalio that could possibly take his place. You may be able to make an argument for Bagdemagus, but he's just way too brash and doesn't have any sense of like strategic prowess. So Drist at least has that, and he's smart. So yeah, another one that I think is irreplaceable. For Leonia, to replace Leoness would definitely be Kilof, because he's definitely got the heart to drive the people of the country to defend themselves and be strong, and they have, in my opinion, the best advisors inside the game. Maybe with the exception of Gwingolin, but Gwingolin is like a master strategist. But so Kilof with also Paternus and Asmut at his side being advisors, I think he's the perfect fit. For the Kingdom of Norgard, so this is my favorite inside Legend of Fortuna. So to replace Vanard, I almost decided to say he's not replaceable, but I think Yvain could be a good replacement. I almost went with Gwingolin, but again, he is another person that's very much a protector of the main ruler or of the country as well. And yes, I think he would make a great leader, but Yvain is definitely more of the strategic type and knows how to analyze orders and battlefield tactics and everything like that. So he definitely shows that inside the scenes and the dialogue. He pays attention, right? Unlike his counterpart Palamedes, however you say his name. But yeah, I think Yvain would be my pick for the ruler of Norgard if Vanard was dethroned. And for Zemeckis, also irreplaceable. I don't see anybody that can replace him, just because he is the main reason the entire conflict is happening inside the storyline. So to replace him would pretty much mean you have no story. So if I were to say anybody, I guess Khador. But if Khador took control, then I would think that every single person in Fortuna would go after the Empire. So that's just my thoughts there. But a great question. Thank you very much for your question, Pedro Magnus. Appreciate that. And let's move on to the next one. Let me know your thoughts as well on this question too. All right. Next one up is Michael Comstock. He asks, who are your top project knights for each country, as well as top project knights from quests? So pretty tricky one. He's talking about Legend of Nursia, obviously, and sticking to that. So for each country, that's also a very loaded question as well, but a lot quicker for sure. So going through the line here, I can't really answer that for Norzalio because I haven't played them yet, but I may be able to give an idea. A project knight for Norzalio, just from playing the demo, is probably Jack, actually. Jack starts at level 8, right? You usually build him into a swordsman during the demo, is what I did. So, and which goes to my favorite cross-classing abilities too, which goes from swordsman to the ranger class and just hitting away and all that stuff. But yeah, I think Jack would be my favorite. Going on to Holy Gustava Empire, I think my favorite project knight for them would be Sylvie. Sylvie is definitely one of my favorites in the entire game as an archer, and I typically don't cross-class archers to anything else because they don't really carry over any skills. They do carry over passive abilities, obviously, but yeah, they don't cross-class very well. I think they do extremely well if they just stick to their ideal track of just staying as an archer the entire time. But yeah, I think Sylvie would be my project knight pick for Holy Gustava. For Morelva, I'm going to say Radka. I think Radka is a great pick for a project knight. She's very strong if you pay attention to her stats. So yeah, Radka would be my pick for Morelva. On the Guy Mool side, that one's tricky. There's a lot that you can really go from with that one. I like to project knight Diana a lot, as I showed in my playthrough. But I think my favorite one, which I did not do in the last playthrough, but I really would pay attention to, is Marcosius. Just because I think he can become very strong as a barbarian and everything like that. So I think Marcosius would be my pick for favorite project knight to build, even though I didn't build him in the last playthrough. But regardless, that's my pick there. For Manus Silesia, I think my pick on that one is going to be, I would say Emma, but she's kind of high level at the beginning. But I think she can be, considered as a project knight because she's not crazy high level at the beginning. I put a lot of levels into that girl when I played my first playthrough of them. So I think Emma is my favorite project knight there. Lancer Dancer combo, it works really well. Who am I missing here? The Shinobi tribe. So on Shinobi tribe, Talia. No, not Talia. Talia is level 8 at the beginning, so she's kind of a project knight, right? But I'm thinking probably Carla. Carla is pretty amazing, actually. I love Carla very much. She's very strong. Could make an argument for Raish, Raish is also very good to build as a Project Knight because she starts very, very low level and can grow extremely well. So I think I'll do like a little half and half there. So between Raish and Carla. We're also wondering about knights from Quest, the freelance knights like Alejandro, and there was Lionel, there's Hughes, all those knights right there. I would say it's probably a bunch of Project Knights, to be honest, let's be real. But I think Tomas is very popular amongst the community, also me included, to build as a Project Knight. Lionel gets very, very strong as a treasure hunter or thief class, so he's very fun to build. When you're finally able to recruit Will, that would probably be my top Project Knight for freelance knights. I love Will. He starts as a level 15 ranger, which he already has hidden away ability, and you can build him into a Dark Knight or Paladin or even Swordsman to have that favorite cross class that I like. But yeah, I think Will is going to be my favorite Project Knight for freelance knights. All right, there you go. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that question as well in the comment section below. I really hope we have a bunch of dialogue on this one. So thank you very much for your question, Michael. Next question up is from Lou Sanchez. He asks, all right, so the question I have is, how did you discover Brigandine, both the original and Grand Edition? Okay, so the original, I discovered that through EB Games in the mall where I used to live. So I used to live in Southern Ohio, and there was a game outlet store called the Electronic Boutique. Some of you guys may be familiar with that. And they may have like a website still, I'm not entirely sure. But every time our family went to the mall, I always went there. And also I went to FYE, which stands for Your Entertainment. They had CDs and movies and stuff like that. I always bought a heavy metal CD at FYE and also bought a game at Electronic Boutique. And at one of those points, I looked at the cover, I looked at the back, saw tactical, RPG battle maps and stuff like that, medieval style. I fell in love with it at first glance. So I decided to buy it, took it home, and then me and my friend Andrew decided to play it during the weekend, and we both fell in love with it. So we traded that game back and forth, through the weekends, and played it at my house too and stuff like that. A lot of memories with that game between me and my friends. And yeah, I grew up very, very well with that game. So yeah, in the mall, Electronic Boutique is how I discovered Brigandine. It was sitting right there on the racks. So now, as far as Grand Edition goes, I didn't see Grand Edition until I started browsing YouTube. And I didn't play Grand Edition until like very far into my adulthood, like close to 30, maybe even after 30. I forget, because most of you know that I was participating on the multiplayer with VeracityTrigger and FrostPDP and stuff like that. After I got my hands on Grand Edition for a while, I played it for like maybe a year or two when I first discovered it and got the translations and stuff like that for emulators. Did all that spiel, but yeah, I loved Grand Edition, and I never really went back to Fortuna after I played Grand Edition because the quality of life improvements were so good. Not just the dialogue and animations and stuff like that, but all the changes within the classes and the characters and the animations on the battlefield I liked a lot. Yes, I do miss the the cinematic head-to-heads that we used to have. I wish you could still turn those on or off just to go back and experience some nostalgia. But regardless, it was very, very well done. And yeah, well into my 30s, or early 30s, or when I turned 30 is when I first discovered Grand Edition from watching a YouTube video. I was like, what is this? I got to check this out. But I did some research, found the forum, and started playing it at around age 30. And the last question for the day comes from Lazy Nick. As for the question, if you can put one country from Fortuna to Nursia and vice versa, which country will you pick? I wonder which country or countries are transferable to either continents or worlds without changing much of the story, if any. This is kind of a hard question, actually, because they're very, very different. Yeah, it's very much medieval style, but to put one in the other, the first one that comes to mind is Stella. I think Stella and the country of Morava would belong very well in Fortuna, just to take the place of Escalio, just replace those two. Just because they're so, like, out of place and random and chaotic. So all of that combined together, they can basically fit anywhere, I would say. But yeah, I think those two countries right there are easily transferable. As for anybody else, the ideals of Tim and Vannard sort of align. not similar enough to the point where I think they could replace each other, because, you know, Norgard never went through like any oppression or anything like that, and Tim did. So or Gustava did. So I don't think they can be replaced. For Zemeckis and Mana Silesia, yes, just because of the simple fact of chaotic persona and being such terrible people, that could work out, and just by that alone. But as far as like motives to take over the country, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think that would work out, to be honest, because Zemeckis doesn't really care about sanctity, right? He cares about getting revenge because he thought he was wronged for committing treason that he knew he didn't commit. But the more I go down the line of it, the more I think that the only replaceable one or transferable ones are Morelva and Escalio. I'm thinking Lance and Rubino right now, just to see what my thoughts are on that. You could. I mean, both of them are pretty generic, but we have to remember that Lance has a direct conflict with Zemeckis. New Elmiki has a direct conflict with the Asgaris Empire. No one has any conflict with each other except for the two big countries, right? So Gaimul and then Mana Silesia. So if you were to replace anything just because of main conflict alone, I would say Gaimul and New Elmiki can replace each other, and the same token, Asgaris Empire and Mana Silesia can replace each other as well. As far as the Shinobi tribe and Caerleon, I don't think it correlates hardly in any way whatsoever. Caerleon doesn't seem to be very reserved on the map on Legend of Fortuna. They are allied with New Elmikia from the very beginning, but Shinobi tribe is very defensive. They want to keep to themselves and stay away from the conflict. Caerleon really isn't like that. Yes, they're very defensive, but they get out there and try to help with the conflict that is happening between New Elmikia and Asgaris Empire. So, yeah, but definitely 100%. Morelva and Escalio can 100% change places. That definitely works, I think. So thank you very much for your question. Very interesting question too. Did not expect that whatsoever. But yeah, this has been amazing. Let's go ahead and do the outro real quick. Everyone, thank you ever so much for your questions. If you do have any more questions for the next Q&A video, if you want me to do more, please leave a like on the video and leave a comment below asking your question for said video. I will gather everything up for the next one and do it like a month later, for example. If you have any other comments to make on any of the questions that have been asked throughout the video, I think that could make for some really cool discussion, and I can't wait to hear from you guys. So definitely hit me up below. And if you haven't joined the Discord server yet, please do so. We're chatting that up every single day. People are joining it every single day. We are currently just over 700 members in that channel. And for a niche game like Brigandine, that is amazing. I never thought it would blow up like that. So thank you very much for sharing the links out, the resources, the playthroughs, the other YouTubers that are putting this content out. It means a lot to us. It really does. So pop on in the Discord, say hi, and we look forward to hearing from you. So any more Brigandine resources you want access to, please check the description below, and I will catch you in the final playthrough of Norzaleo Kingdom, and shortly after that, a live stream from yours truly on challenge mode. I am your host, Valkos, and I will see you on the battlefield, Rune Knights. Peace. Bye.